You need Trevor score?
All right, guys.
Okay.
So today we're going to talk about the language of Shakespeare. So you guys have all read Act 1, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you notice about the language, especially?
There's a lot of thy, thou,
Okay. Nay.
Old-fashioned language.
tut.
Old-fashioned language. There's a lot of words maybe you were not familiar with. What about just the way it's written and the way it reads?
Yeah.
It's written very differently from how we write our words from then to now.
Yeah.
And the language has changed
Yeah.
a lot.
Evolution.
How do we write now, and compared to how Shakespeare wrote a lot of his plays and parts of lots of his plays?
For example, like thou is like spelled like, I can't remember exactly how it's spelled, but I think thou is, for thou it's now like they or something like that.
When you read it, is it written if you were to read a modern play or a modern movie? Are the lines written in the same way?
No,
No, they're written in what? What do we call that? Do you guys know?
no.
It's like poetry, right?
Yeah.
It's verse, and that's how Shakespeare wrote his plays. Why did he write it that way? Well, he wrote to entertain, and the people who came to see his plays, they expected that. That's what everyone else did. All the other playwrights of his time were writing in verse, and a kind of verse that we'll get to in a minute. But the language, the thou and thy, that's Elizabethan English, or sometimes called Old English. And it is similar to our English. It's not, you understood those words, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. And 95% of the words that Shakespeare included in his plays, we still use today. It's not completely unfamiliar. If you break down the words and saw a word list, you could all read those words. It's how he constructs it, how he puts them together that makes it a little more difficult for us to read. And it was really meant to be performed, these lines. They weren't necessarily meant to be read. The playwrights were writing for actors. So why meter? Well, it's what was expected. When people went to see a play, they expected that. If you go to see a musical, we expect to see singing. People don't break out into song in regular life, though. But when we see a musical, that's our expectation. Songs, right?
Yeah.
But it's not how people spoke back then. Yes, they used thy and thou, but they didn't speak in meter, and they didn't speak in such flowery poetic terms. They had a more common way of speaking Elizabethan English. But it was also, meter was easier for actors to memorize. If there was a beat, a rhythm to the words, kind of a sing-songy quality even, it's easier to memorize. And a lot of times, if you guys remember when you were a little kid, when they had you memorize the alphabet, how did they do it?
A, B, C, D, E, F.
Exactly, with a song.
Yeah.
So if a playwright wrote a bunch of lines and they were in iambic pentameter, the verse, it was easier for actors to memorize. So, iambic pentameter. This is stressing alternate syllables. It gives meaning and emphasis. The stressed words have a natural stress in the way that they're spoken even without verse. And there's a rhythm to it. But we do this now. When we pronounce words, there are parts of words that have stresses and other parts that don't. How do we say pronounce?
Pronounce.
Pronounce, right? It's two syllables and we stress the second syllable. Pronounce, right?
Yeah.
We don't say pronounce. You might, depending on your meaning or the use of the word, but we have one of the syllables in every word has some kind of stress to establish meaning, and so we understand how the word's being used. Nobody talks in just a robotic tone like this with no stress on any words. That would be really boring. If your teacher talked that way, you wouldn't follow along. So, iambic pentameter has a meter, and you'll find that the words that are stressed all make sense why they're stressed. It starts with a soft stress, then a hard stress, and this is 5 times. Pent equals 5, so that's why it's pentameter, iambic pentameter. So, I want you guys to clap with me, all right? I'm going to do a rhythm, and then you guys repeat the rhythm that I do, okay? So the rhythm of iambic pentameter was, repeat with me. All right, what does that sound like?
Horses.
Horses galloping?
Music.
Music? Boom, 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 boom.
Heart.
Boom. Heartbeat, right? Galloping, it gives you the sense of motion, it gives you the sense of obviously rhythm, but also, heartbeat, galloping horses. There's a movement to the meter. So, da-dum, 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 da-dum. Each alternate syllable is stressed until the ending stresses. And there's 5 couples. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks. Right? And these are exactly the parts of the words, the syllables that we would stress when we say it. When we say yonder, we don't say yonder, right?
Yeah.
And it happens to be the stress. That was on purpose. It didn't happen that way accidentally. He made sure that the syllable and the word that we would stress is stressed. If music be the food of love, play on. Miss Gottlieb has a car and it is cool. You guys seen her cool car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see.
She's got a Jeep.
Her trunk is big.
So, what if a word didn't fit? Well, he'd make up a new word. Vast became vasty. It's believed that Shakespeare made up about 1,700 words
Wow.
for his plays. He coined phrases, he made up words, he would add a syllable or a prefix or a suffix to a word in order to make it fit his meter too. Many of the words were words he changed just to fit his meter. So now I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes, all right? Would you be more comfortable partnering up with someone, or would you like to do it on your own, create your own iambic pentameter line?
Partnering up.
Partnering up?
How are we
Yeah.
meant to do that?
Would you guys like to partner up?
Yeah.
And do you guys want to, or would you rather go individual?
I don't care. Whatever line's okay.
Okay,
I don't
so
know.
we're going to take 5 minutes, and then if you could pause this, and we'll come back, and I'll give you guys the opportunity to do your little line. Just press the button.